Thank you, Ed. Granny D was here last year, and as always, she had profound things to say. In February of this year, she was in Arizona drafting her speech that she was going to give today. In March, at 7 o'clock in the evening, she passed away at age 100. So Ruth, who will be here to honor Granny D, gave me her draft speech that she wrote in Arizona. I will give you parts of that speech, and it's wonderful, classic Granny D. A nation may be open and positive, hardworking, and fully confident of its future. It may send great white fleets around the world and humans into space. A nation may also be angry, self-destructive, and cruel. We are individuals who can be as troubled or as ecstatic about life. At the present time, however, America is angry and divided, and too many of its citizens are turning away from obvious truths and embracing anger and dangerous falsehoods instead. It's hard to settle arguments or differences and put away anger when we are desperately anxious about our future and our family's future. That sort of anxiety and fear tactics by the radical right is driving American politics today, and anger and blindness to the facts and the sense of powerlessness over our family's future is destroying American democracy. And this anxiety and fear is being manipulated by the masters of self-interest. So who are these self-interest? There are many of the Wall Street corporations like Goldman Sachs, who began to finance the election campaigns of their foot soldiers in Congress. They financed radio talk and propaganda television. We now see millions of people whose anxieties and fears have been hijacked and redirected by these special interests. In the Bush years, all regulatory checks and balances were taken off the table to allow hostile takeovers by other corporations and a rise in new monopolies, so that even the most ethical companies were forced to ship millions of jobs overseas and shut down their plants in American towns and cities. And the best interest of America was being lost. As a result, our children and grandchildren are in danger, and perhaps fatally. Do these greedy and selfish Wall Street monarchs, like corporations, really care about their children or grandchildren, or are they simply more interested about accumulating wealth? She goes on and says, so the anger and fear and the anxiety grows in America today. So what would I do if I was president of the United States? And this is what Granny would do. I would do a great deal. I would immediately use my moral leadership and my administrative powers to do as much as I could to return a sense of personal power to the American people. As for the economy, as for the economy, Americans should not be, she also said, as for the politics by the radical right and the fearmongers, Americans should also not be accusing each other of false things without probable cause. It's dehumanizing. There should be a presumption of innocence, and our dignity demands it. And when we have a Congress that, again, represents the people, we need to return to the states the authority to limit interest rates that can be charged on loans and credit cards. Moving to a sustainable economy and a fair enterprise economy will do more to help our political, cultural, and ecological survival. And while I'm at it, this is classic Granny D, while I'm at it, we should get rid of corporate-run prisons. What is a greater insult for Americans than to be locked up by corporations? She finalizes this by saying, the Obama administration should take an aggressive campaign against Wall Street greed and selfishness, so our government can be returned for the democratic empowerment that all Americans should have. Our mission and goals are simple. When parents know their children will be able to afford college, that they themselves will have secured old age, that health care will be there for all Americans, and that the only time people will sleep outdoors in America is when they go camping. There will be better neighborhoods, better parents, better spouses, better, more productive workers, and a better America. She also goes on to say, time is running out, and time is of the essence. We have to stop talking the talk and walk the talk. We need to do it for our children and our grandchildren's future. She ends with one simple quote, and it's an amazing quote that occurred 20 years ago. The quote's really simple. Many small people and many small places can do many small things and change the world. That was a quote of graffiti on the wall of Berlin Wall when it came down. Granny D was one of those people. So, on behalf of Bob Fest and all of you, on behalf of the Coalition Wisconsin Aging Groups, which is fighting for our Social Security and healthcare reform, we want to honor Granny D, and accepting this award is Ruth, her executive assistant, who has been by her side from the very beginning and was there a few minutes after 7 o'clock when she passed away. Ruth, Ed, will you please come forward? There you go.
Too big a head.
Hold it in.
It says, the Fighting Bob Fest, the Coalition Wisconsin Aging Groups, honor Granny D. Haddock. It's the Robert M. La Follette National Advocacy Award for what you did to get campaign finance reform.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Nino. The Coalition of Wisconsin Groups for the Aging, the Raging Grannies, and all of the dozens, maybe hundreds, of behind-the-scenes, unseen helpers who each year plan the Fighting Bob Fest, set it up, take it down, and get ready for next year. Mostly thank all you thousands of people out here who make this an unending celebration of loving determination. I was privileged to be humbled to be in Granny D's life for many years and to have her intimately in mine. If any of you haven't yet read Granny D's first book, You're Never Too Old to Raise a Little Hell, or seen either of the two award-winning documentaries about her life and work, Run, Granny, Run, and Granny D Goes to Washington, get a copy. Get inspired, and as she told me when I'd go, get going, Ruth. I'm honored and I am humbled to accept this award for her. On behalf of her family, her friends, and all those others who pledged to keep her spirit alive, her movement growing, and her dream, your dream, realized. Restoring democracy for the people, because it will become, again, by the people. Real campaign finance reform through citizen-funded elections. As Nino told you, the only speech I know that Granny D had begun to get ready in her 101st year of activism was last February in Arizona when she was taking a rest. But she anticipated being here today to give that speech to you. She loved you dearly. She shared her love with us all. And I ask you to keep her love in you always, generously sharing it with others as she shared her love with each and all of us. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, everyone.
Two things we're going to do to honor Granny D. We are not going to have a moment of silence. We want everyone to stand up and make the largest applaud and look up in the heavens and say, thank you, Granny D. Come on, everybody stand up.